I meant to make a review of Battlefield 3, DICE's third official installment in the Battlefield series when the game was originally released about a year ago. In honor of the newly announced Battlefield 4 and the now complete collection of DLC called Battlefield Premium, Battlefield 3 is as complete as DICE wanted it to be, and it finally seems appropriate to judge Battlefield 3 in its fullest, most complete, and finished form. To get logistics out of the way, let me start by summarizing what Battlefield 3 is. Battlefield 3 is a modern-day first-person military shooter set against a fictional backdrop where the US is in a conflict with the Middle Eastern coalition called the PLR. The plot develops into a rather unoriginal B-rated movie dilemma where a Russian terrorist decides it would be a good idea to steal nukes and blow up Paris and New York. Being the stereotypical freedom-keeping US Marine named Blackburn, you're thrust into a worldwide conflict to catch the Russian baddies, save the world from utter annihilation, all through a flashback-style interrogation narrative. Nothing too original, but it's enough to chalk you through the dozen or so levels in the campaign. The campaign's first and probably brightest truss is the graphics engine. The game absolutely shines in PC, securing it still a year later as one of the best-looking titles on the platform. I don't want to get too technical with the game's engine, but Frostbite 2 does a stellar job creating a near photorealistic level of immersion. The game has a few shining moments when it treats you to open vistas especially. Firefights are visceral and every explosion is violent enough to even please Michael Bay. I personally played the game at both 1080p and NVIDIA Surround triple 1080p without any problems. Technologically speaking, this game is well optimized on PC, can take a huge advantage of more powerful systems, but is also tame enough to run on mid-end PCs. DICE knew what they were doing with the Frostbite 2 engine, and it definitely shows. The last bit of tech talk that needs to be discussed with BF3 is the audio design. There are so few games out there that do truly realistic audio design and do it well. No, BF3 does not sound anything like a real firefight, but it stands a particular step higher than most of the competition. It is loud, but not distorted, nor too repetitive. The best way for you guys to experience it is to just listen.
We're just gonna finish one war by starting another. That is our fucking standing. Montez, you heard the orders. Let's go! Hey! Fucking tank! Get the fuck out of here! Let's go! Behind me! Give me a sit rep. I'm up. I'm fucked up, but I'm up. RPG! Mike 12! Second floor!
The most disappointing thing about the campaign is its gameplay. I don't mean gameplay in the sense that the weapons are weak, the controls are stiff, and such. In fact, quite the contrary. The main staples of the FPS genre are here and stronger than ever. A vast array of modern firearms, interesting set pieces, responsive controls, and satisfying shooting mechanics, plenty of action of which are all in great supply with BF3. The problem is that that's pretty much all you'll be getting with the campaign. BF3's campaign plays it safe, sticking with linear level design, tons of scripted events, and a lack of vehicular combat. Almost all Battlefield games fall prey to this problem with their single player, except Bad Company 1 being an exception. The game sets out to be a run-of-the-mill military shooter, much like Medal of Honor and, I hate comparing the two, Call of Duty. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but Battlefield holds so much more potential, such being large-scale open world, more vehicular warfare, all powered by the Frostbite 2 engine, which trumps anything out there on the market. The fact that they played the campaign safe would be forgivable if so much potential didn't go to waste. No one should be buying BF3 solely for the campaign, even if you're a hardcore military buff. Consider the campaign a training ground for multiplayer, or as a tech demo for what the Frostbite engine can really do.
Motherfucker, that was a T-90 and I'm still breathing.
That being said, there are a few shining moments when all the gears turn and the wasted potential of BF3 shows. Though too few and too far between one another, the campaign has moments when intense combat, pulse-pounding music, and great technology all sync up perfectly to create a few moments of truly immersive gameplay.
Go! Go! Find this! Hard I have
Some instances are when comrades are killed off or earthquakes shift entire parts of the level. These aren't redeeming elements though, they are rather the remnants of DICE dipping their toes into a deeper, more personal level of storytelling.
This is a war, and things happen in a war. Now, we still have a job to do. You have to get the camper up and you have to get to him first, whether the looks are there or not.
It works, but it never lasts. It almost feels like a cruel joke, as if DICE was dangling a delicious story in front of us, but snatching it away at the last second before we could indulge upon it. Either way, the campaign is a decent way to steal your attention for 5 to 6 hours before heading off to multiplayer or co-op. Before we dive into the multiplayer, we have to acknowledge the Battlefield series' first installment of co-op. 6 two-player levels that mirror levels from the campaign offer a short-term distraction for you and a buddy should you get bored with the campaign. The co-op is nothing too special and would have found itself more fitting in the Bad Company series. Nonetheless, it's a welcome addition, and I hope DICE takes it and evolves it further in future games. It's more fun than the campaign, but still not quite as fun as the multiplayer. Multiplayer has been the primary focus for the Battlefield series since its birth, and BF3 is no different. BF3 as a standalone game contains plenty of content, but 5 DLC packs have been released as well. The entire shebang has been dubbed Battlefield Premium, and it stands as one of the largest multiplayer packages to date. The base game comes with around 9 maps that range from gargantuan mountain ranges, industrial complexes, and forests to tighter urban environments. The landmark conquest game mode, where players need to control points around the map, is still the center of attention. Players are able to choose from 4 distinct class types that all have varied yet balanced roles on the field. There are over 100 firearms between the 4 classes that can be modded with optics and other stat enhancers. A whole slew of vehicles are also available across most of the maps, ranging from jeeps, LAVs, tanks, helicopters, and jets. This is where Battlefield shines. Players can battle it out on gorgeous levels with almost any gun and perk combo imaginable in BF3. There are several other shooters out there that offer large-scale battles, but none do it quite as fluidly and spectacularly as Battlefield. I don't want to waste time just recapping what each of the 5 expansion packs contains. DICE has done a wonderful job covering what each of them has with their respective trailers, and I'm sure you can find in-depth coverage of each expansion elsewhere. Instead, I intend to expose whether or not each of the expansion packs is what it claims to be, and if they are worth the price of premium. Strike at Karkan mostly succeeds in bringing the classic BF2 experience up to date with the Frostbite engine. The maps are true enough to the originals that BF2 vets will feel at home, yet reimagined enough that the Frostbite engine gets to spread its wings and show off a bit. There are 10 new weapons offered in the expansion, and most of them are taken from BF2, such as the L85 and jackhammer shotgun. This expansion, however, brings up an interesting flaw in BF3. One of BF2's notable features was a commander mode where one player on each team dictated where artillery rained down, which flag squads should attack, and in general, ran the whole battle. There was an interesting dynamic that helped control all 64 players on the map, and provided much needed structure to the battle and kept everything moving smoothly. BF3 has no such feature. Interestingly enough, Battlefield 4 is bringing Commander Mode back, which leads to an interesting question. Why was it ever left out of BF3? I can't answer this question, but without the Commander Mode, multiplayer feels a little looser than it used to in BF2. This can be circumvented if you and your friends have some sort of voice communication between one another, but Commander Mode's absence is a gaping hole in BF3 that only BF2 vets will miss. The game still plays well without Commander Mode, but it's a feature that has a rightful place in Battlefield, and it's a darn shame to play without it. Close Quarters is an obvious attempt to attack Call of Duty's position as the leader in online FPS gaming. Why DICE felt the need to make an entire expansion based off of exactly what their competitor thrives on is a bit puzzling. Small-scale combat is not Battlefield's strong point, though the game still manages to pull off indoor combat with extra destruction. The Frostbite engine allows players to rip through walls and shoot across rooms, adding an interesting dynamic to Close Quarters battle. It isn't anything that will change the genre forever, but it is enough to set Close Quarters apart from other Battlefield games and is still enjoyable. Worth the money. Armored Kill is the polar opposite of Close Quarters and works to Battlefield's strength. Vehicular Combat is in. In fact, the Engineer class seems to be the most frequent in type on the field.
If you're a person who enjoys vehicular warfare and other Battlefield games, this expansion is well worth your money. There's very little on-foot action compared to, say, car canned or close quarters, but the game compensates by adding a game mode where every player gets to use a tank. It's a fun addition, but you'd be better off battling it out in Conquest. The only complaint I have with Armored Kill is that it gets really tedious and tiring to consistently fight off enemy tanks and helicopters. There's seldom, if ever, a moment where you can safely move around without enemy army bearing down on you. I'd prescribe a healthy balance of both Armored Kill and Close Quarters, since both are extremes. However, the next DLC seems to hit a perfect chord between the two. Aftermath is my favorite of the 5. The maps range from mid to massive in scale, offer lots of vertical variation in combat, and blends vehicular warfare with infantry combat almost perfectly. The DLC focuses on earthquake-ravaged cities, and DICE has put tons of effort into detail into character models, new vehicle models, and weapons to give them a makeshift appearance. This expansion pack seems to hit a perfect balance between on-foot action and vehicular warfare, offering exactly what Battlefield is meant to do: give everyone their unique experience on the field. This expansion pack also includes a scavenger-type game mode, forcing players to find weapons around the map. No, it's not totally original, but it's a great way to force people to try new weapons they might not be familiar with, and depending on what type of gun you find, your gameplay style will need to change on the fly. This game mode demands the most versatile players in order for them to do well. Endgame offers the most map variety. There are lush forests, barren deserts, and snow-capped tundras, which offer a nice visual stimulus to the repetitive maps in Aftermath. Endgame also gives jet pilots a new game mode offering 64-player dogfights. Again, however, it falls prey to the same problem as Armored Kill. It gets really repetitive and tiring to fight off enemy planes all the time. It's great to hone in your flying skills and earn jet upgrades, but past that, there isn't much to keep players there. Endgame was supposed to be DICE's big finish with Premium, and while Capture the Flag and Dirt Bikes is fun, it wasn't as strong of an exit as some may have hoped for. Nothing about this pack is standout spectacular. Everything in it just stops short of greatness. The maps lack interesting set pieces, and the gameplay style remains the same. Not a bad way to go out, but it could have been better.
To sum things up, Battlefield 3 isn't really Battlefield 3. It's more of a hybrid of Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 2. The scale from Battlefield 2 has been preserved and definitely expanded upon, but the gameplay is even more hectic than that of Bad Company 2. Battlefield 3's multiplayer seems to suffer from a bit of a lost identity, where it can't decide for sure what it wants to be, whether that be Bad Company or a true Battlefield 2 sequel. The game succeeds at pulling off both simultaneously though, which is great, meaning that fans of both games will find something to enjoy with BF3. The worst part about the multiplayer is how taxing it is on the player. Stuff is always exploding in your face, you're constantly being chugged through the map, and the action never lets up. The action is great and all, but it just gets tiring and monotonous to subject yourself to it all the time. However, if you play the game with friends, squatted up together for an hour or so at a time, the gears turn and Battlefield becomes a wonderful standout title that emphasizes teamwork more than any other. You're sure to experience your own Battlefield moments if you invest the time, and those moments are definitely worth the extra time needed to play. When the chips are down, Battlefield's multiplayer package offers unparalleled action and is guaranteed to entertain well after BF4 has swept in. The last thing I want to briefly cover is BF3's usage of Battlelog and Origin. Battlelog is a browser-based system for finding and launching multiplayer games. While frightening and foreign at first, Battlelog is a well-put-together, quick Facebook-like experience for playing Battlefield 3. It's well-optimized and genuinely offers really fast and easy connections to online games. Origin is EA's competitor for Steam, and while general reception to it has been negative, I must say that I have personally experienced no issues with it. Their network has been solid since I bought BF3 and I haven't had any problems using it. If you really hate it that much, just close out of it when you're done playing, no biggie. All in all, BF3 Premium is a tremendous amount of game, especially considering that it retails for only 40 to 50 bucks nowadays. You should be buying it for the multiplayer and because you have a friend who also wants to play it. If you don't have a buddy that can play alongside you, there's still lots to enjoy, but after all, Battlefield is a team game, and without a friend, well, that's just one more injustice being done to a great game.